Hi there, welcome back on the channel. As you can see, today we are filming a Jeep. It's the Compass model from the American manufacturer, and it's a car from 2023 with a hybrid system on board, and it's done about 30,000 kilometers until now. So I was saying that we have a hybrid. What does that mean? We do have a 1.5 liter petrol engine with 4 cylinders and a turbocharger, and a small electric motor that's embedded in the dual clutch transmission. The electric motor by itself develops something like 20 horsepower and about 55 newton meters, but the overall system output is about 130 horsepower and 240 newton meters. On paper, the specs are not amazing, obviously. It's a front-wheel drive car with a sprint from 0 to 100 in about 10 seconds, and the top speed is limited to about 190. So modest figures, but the main purpose of the car is some city driving, some soft off-road, not sprints and highway driving at top speed, obviously. Also, the consumption figure is quite acceptable for a pseudo SUV like this one, for a small crossover. You can see values as low as 5 liters or maybe less if you're running outside the city and obviously obeying the speed limit. On the highway, something like 7 liters, maybe 8 if you're carrying some weight with you. And inside the city, values as high as 8, maybe 9 liters per 100 kilometers. It's not really a heavy car, but considering the dimensions and the fact that it's only front-wheel drive, tipping the scale at about 1.5 tons it's quite a lot, actually. And not for modern standards, as I said, but for such a small vehicle. But overall, yeah, it's an interesting car if you're looking for something to drive from point A to point B. Now let's check out the luggage space. Being a small SUV, you don't really have to expect a lot of space. And as you can see, the carry-on luggage that I use for my reviews seems like it fills about a quarter of the space. Maybe you'll be able to fit some 5 carry-on luggages like this one in here, but at least you do have some pockets on either side, a 12-volt outlet, some light fixtures on either side as well, and also underneath the boot floor you'll find a small spare wheel and some additional space. So all in all, it's quite alright, the space back here. Now let's check out the space in the back, and the first thing, it's the way the door opens nearly at 90 degrees, which means that you do get an alright space to enter the car, even though the passage from here to here is not really the biggest. The fact that the door opens this wide really helps. And of course, being a small SUV, the materials are not gonna be awesome by any stretch of imagination. We do have hard plastics on the door cover, but there's a small decor here, and also the main advantage is the fact that we do have some soft material here on the armrest, which for 2023 it's actually quite quite unusual to see, especially if you're talking about a non-premium manufacturer. Also, we get some electric window here in the back, a small cubby for the door handle, and also another one lower down. Oh, and the speaker as well. In terms of the comfort features here in the back, we do get some lights on the ceiling on either side, and also air vents here in the back, which is quite unusual for a small vehicle. You also get a USB-A and then USB-C and a 12-volt outlet lower back. Of course, the seat of the car, the seats are not those from the pictures because it does have some covers. So this is the space here in the back. As you can see, I have more than enough space. For my knees there are about 4 fingers, almost a palm of space, and the seat is as usual in a bit over the B-pillar actually, and it's raised up so I can stretch my legs underneath the seat. So again, it's quite a spacious car, even though it doesn't seem that way from the outside. And in terms of headspace, again, I have about a palm of space. I can squeeze my whole palm, but yeah, it's the advantage of a small SUV like this one. The bench is quite short, obviously, but other than that, we do have some comfort features back here, so yeah, if you need it, you can use it, the space side. In the front part, on the other hand, it's interesting to see that we do have some soft materials, well, a bit softer rather than in the back, but the same armrest, the same decor, with another extension with some controls for the locking and unlocking the doors from the inside. And also I see that here in the front, the window does have an auto function. Other than that, an additional cubby and some decor element on the speaker. The seat itself doesn't have all that much functions, but you do get a height adjustment. If we sit inside the car, as you can see, the space actually is more than enough, even though the seat is a bit over the B-pillar of the car. As you can see, I have more than a palm of space for my knees, and for the most part it's alright in here. I can stretch my legs, but we do get some hard materials on the center console, which is to be expected on a small vehicle. But yeah, all in all, it's alright in here. Oh, and also the glove box is quite deep, even though it's not covered. Again, something to be expected for a small vehicle. At last, we can see how the things are for the driver. And starting with the door card, obviously it's almost the same, but we do get additional controls for the electric windows, and as I said, only those from the front part that does have the auto function, and also you get a controller for the outside mirrors. Other than that, the seat itself, it's identical with the one from the passenger side, and we do get some light controls on the left side of the steering wheel. Let me have a seat inside. This is the driver POV. You do get an interesting steering wheel. It's quite hefty actually, and the design is nice, a bit sporty this way. But the main aspect of it, it's the physical buttons. We are in a car that's manufactured only two years ago, but we do get physical buttons. That's a plus in my book. On the right side we have the cruise control commands, and on the left side the controls for the display and the multimedia system as well. Let me just start the car. Alright, as you can see, we have some regular stocks for lights and wipers, and a lot of warning messages. Alright, I know the engine is running. It's a hybrid after all, so it does have to show you these things. And if you take a look at the gauge cluster, it's an all digital gauge cluster. It's some interesting design, some interesting information that are shown in here. As you can see, now we can check out the coolant temperature, the oil temperature, which is again nice to see, the oil pressure as well, and the small battery charge. As I said, you control the screen with the controls from the left side of the steering wheel. As you can see, we have the hybrid info and some additional views for the gauge cluster, digital or analog. We can also use this function from swipe between all the controls. And let me go to the average consumption. As you can see, a bit over 7 liters until now. Counting. Let me zoom out again. We do get mirror that it's dimmable, and it does have a frame anyway. Some light fixtures on the ceiling, a small infotainment screen, but it does have quite a thick bezel, so yeah. And also it's the bezel, it's in piano black. As you can see, it attracts quite a lot of dust, and the buttons from down below as well. But the screen itself is nice and responsive. It does have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, so yeah, all in all it's alright. Below we have the control for the hybrid system, the stability control, lane assist, and hazard lights. Then we get controls for the climate unit, which are a bit split between here and the infotainment screen. You cannot operate the heating in the steering wheel or the seat heating from here. You have to do it through the infotainment screen. And also we get some volume rocker. Nice to have. Down below we have a wireless charger for your phone, some USBs. One is USB-A and one is USB-C. Then we have the parking brake, the lever for the double clutch transmission, and the hold brake function. A couple of cup holders that are adjustable, and also a central armrest with an additional cubby underneath. Welcome to the driving part of the review. We are now enjoying the scenery with the Jeep Compass in hybrid configuration, and I've already driven the car. I have my first impressions ready for you. I'm gonna start with the suspension of the car. I didn't know what to expect from this brand because I didn't encounter any newer model from Jeep. So being a small SUV, I didn't know what to expect, but surely not what I found. It's actually quite a comfortable car. Obviously, it does help the fact that we are running on 17 inches, and the tires are 215 by 60, so yeah, a lot of tire, and it does help with the comfort level inside the car. It's almost like it feels like a bigger car, so that's a nice surprise in my book, at least. The same can be said about the steering wheel. Well, it's light, a bit too light for my taste, and a bit numb. But what can you expect? It's not a vehicle meant for high speeds, for bends, for circuits or something like that. No, not even close. The brand itself, it's focused more on off-roaders and SUVs, which tend to have more numb steering feel. So yeah, it's all right. It's within reason for this type of vehicle. The main aspect is the fact that it's quite light to operate, and inside the city you're gonna appreciate it. The controls overall are quite easy to modulate. The only downside is the brake feel, the brake pedal feel, because this model, it's a hybrid, and it does have some regenerative braking, the first part of the pedal, and it doesn't necessarily blend in the hydraulic brake all that well. Firstly, you don't really feel like the car is slowing down, and it's a composed sensation from the gearbox and the electric motor that's inside the gearbox. And if you're pushing even harder the brake pedal, then it's gonna use the hydraulic brake, and it's gonna brake a bit harder than you would otherwise expect it to. So maybe they could have done something better in that regard, but all in all, you're gonna probably get used to it, and maybe you won't jerk the controls all that often. Other than that, the transmission for the most part is alright. It's a double clutch, it does have 7 gears, it tends to blend them quite nicely, and for the upshifts, actually it's more than alright. The small issue is on stop and go traffic, and while pulling away, and also at low speeds. I know that everybody tends to say that double clutch gearboxes are jerky at lower speeds, but I tried some different models from different manufacturers, and I've got to say, in Volkswagen Group products, they are way better at dealing with the slippage of the clutch at lower speeds than at least this model. Even though this is a hybrid, and maybe it could use the electric motor to run at lower speeds. I don't know. For the most part, I drove outside the tarmac section of the road, and between accelerating slightly and letting off the gas pedal, it was quite jerky. So yeah. Now let's talk about the noises inside the cabin, the insulation, and I'm gonna keep the speed at around 90, which is now. And now let's go to 110, which is now. And let's try to get to 130, which is now. Yeah, a short burst, but as I said, the brakes are a bit oversensitive. So, yeah. Impressions, once again, it's almost in line with the suspension of the car. It feels like a bigger car. It feels like it's a premium small SUV in terms of noise insulation. You do get a lot of noise from the outside mirrors, but that's again to be expected because it's a small SUV. It's not very air friendly in terms of aerodynamics, and also the outside mirrors are quite large. So yeah, that's the most the generating factor of the noise inside the cabin. Other than that, the engine, don't really hear it even at 130. I'm gonna try another burst ahead to let you hear it, and especially at 90 or 110, you don't really notice the tires as well. They're quite silent. Another advantage of smaller rims and an additional amount of rubber from the tires. But yeah, again, it's a nice surprise. I didn't expect it to be so well insulated, considering it's not a premium manufacturer. Interesting. Until we get outside the small city that we are now inside, I'm gonna talk about the engine for a moment. It's not really underpowered, even though the car weighs more than 1.5 tons. And for the most part, if you're planning a bit your overtakings and overtakes, and if you're most likely keeping a steady speed, you won't really need anything more than this. It feels like 150 horsepower, not really a 130. And we don't have all-wheel drive, so from standstill it's actually skipping a bit. It doesn't manage to put all that power to the ground, which I did not expect reading the spec sheet. Yeah, that's about the engine. I'm gonna come back to it when I talk about the maintenance, because other than that, we don't have any problems to talk about. The owner has got the car from 2023, and in the 30,000 kilometers that we've done until about now, didn't encounter any problem with it, so that's a good thing. But in terms of maintenance, actually no. Again, being a petrol engine, it's not really that demanding. If you're using the car from time to time inside the city, or mostly inside the city, you could do some maintenance at about 10 to 12,000 kilometers, I guess. Stretch it at around 15 if you're mainly using it outside the city, just to be a bit cautious. And other than that, not really much to talk about. The gearbox could be serviced at around 50 to 60,000 kilometers. And that's pretty much it. No worries for the all-wheel drive system because you don't have it. And in terms of tires or brakes, again, no worries. Not a sporty car, it's not that heavy. So it will be alright. Now let's try to get to 130. Which is now. And as I said, you don't really hear the engine. It sits at around 2,500 RPMs. You get a bit of tire noise, but mostly it's the noise from the mirrors, the wind noise. Alright, that's pretty much gonna be the review. I do have to mention something that I'm not really a fan of. Being the quite small car, actually, I do have a problem with the sitting position because I'm a bit over 1.8 meters in height. The space for my left foot, it's actually quite small. I have to sit with my leg more towards me than I would like, and also the position itself, it's not really comfortable, and it's not like I can roll my chair to the back, because then I won't get to the pedals the way I like to. So yeah, that's a small problem. I tend to sit with my left foot towards the seat. It's more comfortable that way. But yeah, other than that, I don't really see any downsides for this model in this configuration. All in all, I think it's gonna be in the future a low maintenance car, a low running costs car. The consumption for this driving part of the review, it's at around 7 liters. So yeah, it's a nice vehicle all in all. If you enjoyed what you saw, maybe considering liking the video, and also leave your comments, your impressions in the comments here on YouTube or on social media. And also, maybe you should subscribe to the channel, because it's gonna help me grow it. Until next time, thank you for watching.